Okay, so we've looked at the audio effects and now I think it's time to mix our track. So if we come into the mixer window, we can do it from here, or we can just go through and add things on the arrangement page. But you might like to do it from the mixer window where you can do multiple things at once. You can work a bit quicker and you can see everything working together as a whole. So there's many different approaches to mixing. You can either start at the beginning or you can start from the choruses, the main parts of the song. I actually prefer to start from the choruses. And in terms of orders, I usually like to get my drums sounding good first, then the bass, then my kind of more harmonic-y elements, so guitars, pads, pianos, and then I tend to do my vocals last. But there is no rules. That's just the way I like to approach it. Let's get everything up so I can see it. So your best control when you're mixing is to use the volume faders. You can do kind of 70% of a mix just by getting the levels right. So when I listen to this chorus, two things I notice: everything's very central, so I can make more use of left to right stereo field. I can put some things over on the left hand side, some things over on the right hand side. For instance, the guitars, very central. I can get them out of the way by putting them to one side or splitting them in two. So I've got one on the left and one on the right, and then that leaves more room for the vocals in the middle. The main controls you see when you look at this mixing console, you see the faders for controlling the volume, and you see the pan pots, and then you also see the EQ. Those three alone will get you kind of 80% of the way. Let's just try working with that first. So. And I wouldn't normally double it this way. I would normally record the guitar again and either record it exactly the same, but because it's a different take, there's going to be some differences in it, and that will make it kind of sound thicker. Whereas if you just double it exactly as it is, it's not going to quite sound as thick. But to save time, I am just going to duplicate it, copy it like that. And what I'm going to do is pan this one to the left. And I'm going to pan this one to the right. And it does sound thicker, right? Because I've essentially duplicated it. So it's got louder for that reason. And it is now a bit wider because one's over there and one's over there. So. If you want to get rid of a plugin, you can just hold Command and use the eraser.
All I wanna do today is find a way to make you stay.
So now I think that vocal's a little loud, so I'm going to bring down the volume.
All I wanna do today is find a way to make you stay.
That bass is a little bit dry sounding to me. I want to give it a little bit of drive, so we can do distortion and we can do overdrive. It's got a little bit more bite now.
All I wanna do today is find a way to make you stay. All I wanna do.
I think that tamborine's a little bit bright, but that's because we added this EQ earlier, so I'm going to back that off a little bit. Let's bring that down. And you see that there's kind of some little, the analyzer was picking up some activity quite low down. It wasn't too loud, but if you have this happening on, say, every single track, that is then going to gradually build up and it is going to be kind of up here. So that's one thing you have to pay attention to. You might want to cut some low frequencies where it doesn't matter. For instance, I don't need that kind of very low thump on the tambourine. So in this instance, I am going to scoop it up quite high. I don't know, let's say 60, 70, somewhere like that. And I'm going to kind of have a gentle slope. In fact, I'm going to have it even higher because there's nothing important down here in the tambourine. All I need is everything up from about 1 kilohertz, 2 kilohertz. What you can do is you can change the scale. So although you might think there's nothing down here, if you click on this left-hand side, you can actually see there is more stuff. I mean, it is very quiet, but it's just good to know that it's there. By cutting some of that very low frequency, that low rumble stuff that was down there, I'm also making some space for my bass. But again, And same thing, the tambourine, we can maybe shift it over to one side, clear up a little bit of room. So this pad, it's quite thick, right? It's kind of filling a lot of the frequencies. If we look at it on an EQ, so I'll mute that. Turn the analyzer on. It is in this kind of frequency range where there are some vocally stuff going on. So what we could do here is try and clear a bit more room for that vocal, or we could just turn the pad down for now. Let's see. Kind of depends what you want to stick out in your mix, because you can either have everything fairly well balanced and that's completely fine, or you can have certain elements that are a little bit louder than others and they're the focal point. Like quite often vocals are a focal point in a track, so that's probably where you want to lean to, but it's up to you. So those backing vocals can maybe come down a little bit. And what we can do with backing vocals is we can EQ them as well. So if I bring up the EQ, bring that up a little bit. I can also cut some of the highs as well.
All I wanna do today is find a way to make you stay. All I wanna do.
And what I think would be nice for these would be to have quite a big reverb on them. So we can go down here, we can add a reverb. Let's try the Quantec, let's go stereo.
All I wanna do today is find a way to make you stay.
Although I wasn't supposed to be doing that yet, and I was just going to stick to volume, panning, and EQ to start off with, but sometimes you just need some reverb. And it can be quite nice to blend delay and reverb together, so I'm going to add in a delay just before it, so let's get an echo. Let's try that. Do today is find a way to make you stay. All I wanna do. Maybe pan these to the other way.
All I wanna do.
Clear that space out.
All I wanna do today is find a way to make you stay.
Maybe I can do something with the piano as well. Maybe I can add some EQ here. How's the level of the piano? And I quite like the bass line because there's a lot going on. It's quite interesting. It's got that funkiness. It's kind of bringing that indie feel to the track. So I'm quite happy for that bass to cut through quite a lot. Okay, I'm feeling that's fairly well balanced. I mean, I might add a bit of EQ to the main vocal. I can probably cut some of the very low stuff down here, or just a little bit. It's going to clear some room for the bass and the guitar. Then the main body of the vocal is in here. And I can boost maybe that top end of that vocal a little bit to get a bit more brightness and a bit more intelligibility out of the vocal. So that's kind of in that 1 to 3K range.
Find a way to make you stay. All I wanna do today is find a way to make you stay. All I wanna do today is find a way to make you stay.
If I'm just looking at doing volume, panning, and EQ, I'm fairly happy with that. As a rule, you generally want to keep your bass in the middle. You kind of want to keep your drums, so the kick drum and the snare in the middle. The overheads, which are the cymbals, can be a little bit wider. Your toms can be spread out, so they're done automatically here. You can see over on the right, over on the right, over on the left, over on the left. And so that's the drums. The bass should generally be in the center as well. The guitars, quite often they're hard panned or midway panned, so I've got them all the way hard panned, which is all the way left, but you could come up here and have them minus 30-ish, and then they're kind of halfway panned. Up to you, depends how wide you want the sound. Sometimes the mix can sound a little bit disassociated with stuff hard panned, but I think it works in this instance. Pad, I think, is a little bit, I think the pad still has a bit too much low energy, so I might take some out.
Find a way to make you stay.
So you might have heard when I did that, the guitars are cutting through a little bit more now, which you might like, you might not like. It's all kind of a balancing act. And actually, I think I preferred their less guitars, so I'm going to bring that back a little bit. And some people will tell you to do this on every single track, do a low cut, do something like this on every single track. You don't have to, but particularly on stuff you've recorded. So if you've recorded guitars, recorded vocals, quite often there's some like low end thumping and stuff like that. And that does build up over time. So you can apply it to certain things. Often as low as 30 can just be a safety net to make sure that you haven't got too much really low end stuff, because that low end stuff has a lot of energy. And if that builds up, it will also trigger compressors, limiters. It can have an adverse effect on your mix. So does it need to be here on this pad? Probably not. If I zoom in to the lower frequencies, there probably isn't even much anyway. There is a little bit though, so I could get rid of it. I feel like the piano is cutting through a little bit more, so I can turn that down now. And once we've kind of got our general levels of rough mix together, we can then go in and get even more creative. We can do other things like add reverbs, add distortions, add choruses, flanges, all of those modulation effects, and do some even more crazy stuff with the multi effects, the step effects. So that's all there if you want to do it. We've just done the chorus here, and that should now be the same for this second chorus because they're pretty much exactly the same. So I'm quite happy with the balance of the chorus. My next step would be to do the verses as well. So we can have a look at that now. But do you hear just in those two how much difference there is, like how much more clear the choruses sound and more balanced compared to these verses? The guitar kind of distortion is covering a lot of stuff. Compare it to that just sounds a lot more clearer now that we've done a quick mix on it. So let's now do the same for the verses. And obviously we have to be careful because where we change the levels here, if we change the levels too much in these verses, it's going to affect what we've done in the chorus. So we might have to use automation, which is where you have one section with certain volumes and panning controls, but another section you automate it so that they change based on which section you're working on. So first thing is the guitar. I'm going to get rid of that effects that we added earlier on. So I could go to no plugin by clicking on the right hand side and then going no plugin, or I can just do command and do that. So that sounds a lot better. I'm going to do what I did for the chorus and I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to copy everything down. So select it all and just do Option, drag down. And what we can do here is we can be creative. We can go on the verses, we could just go halfway pan. So -30 to the left, -30 to the right on these two guitars. So what that's going to do is when it comes to the chorus, it's going to jump out wider. So now our guitars are too loud, so let's bring them down. And we can work in the mixer window. So here's a good time to explore outputs and buses. So